All right, thank you, everybody. Hopefully you could have heard that since I didn't have my mic on. I'd like to open the meeting to public comment. Public comment may include anything relating to tonight's agenda items. Commenters must state their name, whether they are a resident of the township or a non-resident taxpayer of the township. If you don't identify yourself, your comments will not be included in the official minutes. Do we have any opening public comments?
This is John Auerbach. I have some comments on the trail construction issue, but I'm going to wait till I hear all the issues before I make any comments. Just looking at the agenda, don't forget the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, we just did that. My mic must not have been.
All right, so no worries, no worries.
Yeah, so thank you very much. All right. So let's move on. Donna.
All right, I'll start. So I would like to make a motion that the board approve the February 21st, 2024 Board of Supervisor meeting minutes. Could I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Jim. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion. Anyone against, nay? Okay. Motion carries 5-0. And then we have, I'll make another motion to approve the March 4th, 2024 Board of Supervisors Workshop meeting minutes. Could I have a second for that?
I'll second that.
Okay, David. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against, say nay. And motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Jim or whomever.
And then I'd like to present the February's treasury report by Ms. Melissa Ortega. Is Melissa on?
She is not.
Oh, okay.
Conflict with what she needs.
Okay. Okay. Then I'll read that. The February 2024 Treasurer's Report includes the following disbursements. The general fund with disbursements and transfers of $121,423.37. The Park and Recreation Fund with disbursements of $262.28. The Open Space Fund with disbursements of $5,350.16. The Capital Reserve Fund with disbursements of $0. The Emergency Services Fund with disbursements of $0. The Fire Hydrant Fund with disbursements of $580.80, leaving a balance of all funds totaling $1,867,968.11. Proposed motion, I make a motion that the board approve the February 2024 Treasurer's Report as presented by Dawn Dowling. May I have a second? Seconded by Donna D. Discussion, any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye. Anyone opposing say nay. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Okay, the zoning report was compiled by the zoning officer, Mark Gordon. In the month of February 2024, 10 permits were issued for $2,404.50 in permit fees. And there was $0 collected for miscellaneous fees, recreations, open space, and impact fees. 40 inspections were performed.
Sorry. We're on to Park, Recreation, and Open Space Report by Andrea Roberts. Andrea?
Hello, I'm here.
There
Hi.
she is. Great.
Hi. Good evening. So starting out at our meeting, we had Jacob Henning, a local Boy Scout, present a project to us. He would like to build a bike repair station at Crossan Park. He presented a slideshow to us. He was very prepared, and he is in the early stages yet of gathering pricing and so forth. His goal is to put a bike repair station installed in a concrete pad with a structured roof somewhere close to it, down by the lower pavilion. We urged him to talk with Liam Kelly, who is also building a kiosk at the down toward the lower pavilion, because maybe they can work together. Maybe we don't. I don't think we need two kiosks down there, and so maybe they can figure out a way to work together on that or combine projects. So there was also, kind of further discussion about the location itself. I think at some point, maybe prior to my being on the pro board, there was discussion about putting a bike repair station up by the bathrooms and concession stand. His preference would be to keep it down by the lower pavilion. I think he will probably, that's the way he will present it to you. But we told him it may be an item for discussion with the Board of Supervisors. So you should see him with his presentation for your April meeting.
So Andrew, any idea how big this thing is? What he's thinking about?
So it's actually like a pre-manufactured metal structure. And so I was unable to kind of get a really good idea of scale. It's very vertical, and it looks like it lifts the bike maybe off the ground in order to properly be able to fix tires and so forth. It's got tools attached to it that are on very strong cables. But overall, I think it is pretty compact. It would need to be set in a concrete pad. One thing we were concerned about a little bit was vandalism, it being so far away from cameras and such. But I think, a car or bat or anything that tried to go at it would be in jeopardy of, losing that battle. So it's a pretty solid structure. Next up in old business was the You Are Here map. We continue to revise that map. Since the last time I saw you guys, we added color loops to the map, and I'd like to share that with you so you can kind of see. Can I share my screen? There we go. Thank you. Okay, so here is the updated Franklin Preserve Crossing Park trail map. We really need to get this done because Liam Kelly is working on his Eagle Scout project rather, and so we're trying to kind of move through it. The idea is that he originally had a design where he was going to use lots of different colors in Franklin Preserve for his trail markers. And I think Paul and Mary and maybe others came up with the idea that we would use, kind of the primary solid colors throughout the park. And then the kind of miscellaneous little trails and loops would get signage and arrows, but not necessarily their own color. And so this is kind of where it stands right now. And I am sure you will be seeing more of it as it continues to develop. Next up, last time the Board of Supervisors met, there was discussion. Dave presented some trail revitalization in the lower part of Crossing Park, and we discussed a trail kind of shift between the lower soccer fields and the lower pavilion. It's my understanding that several of the Board of Supervisors walked that trail or at least looked at it with Paul Overton. And there was discussion about kind of how that all happened, whether or not there needed to be gravel added. I think it sounded like my understanding of the meeting is that the preference would be not to add gravel to that trail between the soccer fields and the lower pavilion, but maybe add some gravel down toward in the lower section, kind of the more marshy areas down by the creek where Paul Overton and volunteers have started kind of opening up some of the trails. And if I got any of that wrong, please,
Only a clarification where, the board is discussing is how we approach trail surfacing. So how do we make a decision on, so I guess the short answer to your point is I don't think we've made a decision on what kind of surface we want to do and what our board preference is, which is what we're going to talk about later in the meeting today. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's,
But still, I mean, I think, the update here, kind of in a grander, in the larger scale is that, there is trail revitalization happening over at Crossan Park and Franklin Preserve. And I think truly for the better, it's really going to open up a lot more, a lot more walking paths for people to use. And, I think, I continue to urge people to really kind of explore over there because there are so many more trails than I think people, kind of could ever realize. Also on old business, raised beds. We talked about that briefly. Bob, pro board member Bob would like to add some raised beds over at Bamshire. He is going to work on design, pricing, and we are just waiting for that in order to be able to present it to you guys. New business, we talked about the Bluebird boxes, and I think you will hear a little bit more from Don Dowling about that. So I'm kind of going to leave that one be for now. We discussed the overall final design, maybe adding a QR code, and I think Don, you'll probably show everyone that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dawn also presented, she had the library director, David Payne, contact her. He wants to work on adding a trail program at the library. And I think what that would entail is like little backpacks with compasses for the local kids. And then maybe the pro board provides a map with a trail guide so that they could go out and explore. It would be a backpack that you might borrow for a couple days. The library has a lot of very cool programs like that where you can borrow things. You can borrow, a quick pass to Longwood Gardens or whatnot. And so I think this just kind of adds to their, their offerings. We also talked about the Easter fun up at Crossan Park. That happened. It was wonderful. And so I'll skip past that. And then lastly, Shane Morgan, local resident, she does a lot of work for, I guess, White Clay, right? And so in White Clay, and she's applying for a grant for the National Fish and Wildlife to conduct a study on flood survey in the White Clay watershed. She has requested a letter of endorsement from Franklin Township, and she is here to kind of answer questions, give more information. The Board of Supervisors, I think the pro board is, more than happy to volunteer our time, however we can help Shane over the next couple years. But we need the Board of Supervisors to also, see that, agree, and understand, kind of what that means. And so Shane is here, and would now be a good time to hear Shane kind of speak to that a little bit.
yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, great. Shane, I'll give it to you.
Great. Thanks, Andrea. Nice to finally meet you, sort of. First of all, I am not a resident of Franklin Township. Most of you already know that. I just wanted to be clear. I am the program director for the White Clay Watershed Wild and Scenic Program. And I reached out to Jeff originally to seek a letter of support for a grant that we're applying to. It's a National Fish and Wildlife Foundation grant. We would like to do a flood study of the White Clay, the entire watershed, Pennsylvania, Delaware, all 108 square miles. Look for areas of vulnerability and hone in on those. So areas that have increased flood risk, and look at things that could ameliorate those, such as aggregated green infrastructure, all sorts of nature-based solutions. And so what we were asking for support of is, during the model, we're going to need to gather data, as much data as we can from each of the watershed municipalities. If you have digitized drainage maps, that would be great. We can incorporate that into our model. Once we develop the flood model using, so we're going to do a hydraulic model and a hydraulic model, which includes, bridges, things like that in there. The hydraulic one does. And once we have that done, we're going to be able to show you guys, where the flooding areas are in your township based on the model. And we want to come back and have you validate that. We want to make sure that the model is looking at things accurately, that it's showing what you're seeing on the ground. And then we're going to input different scenarios into the model. We're getting a lot more precipitation in the past 4 years, but in the past 20 years. And so that's having an impact on the flooding that you're seeing on the ground. And so we're trying to be proactive and incorporate climate data into the model so that we can do future predictive scenarios of different storm events. And so basically the in-kind that I'm asking for is for you guys just to be involved as stakeholders, to answer questions that we might have. Some of it might be one-on-one meetings. Others might be inviting you guys to our stakeholder meetings and public meetings, so that you can be a part of the process, because really this is going to be helpful to you as well as me as a watershed manager. And then the final output is going to be a tool that will be publicly accessible and online. It's really being built so that people that are making decisions can use it. So it's going to incorporate all this data. And then there's going to be parameters that you can change, like impervious cover, buffer width, things like that, to see what happens, in your municipality in the White Clay Creek when you change those parameters. So it's going to be an interactive tool. Drexel University is actually the one that we're hoping to contract should we get this grant, who's going to do the modeling. They've been doing a lot with Darby Cobbs Creek, Camden, and the city of Philadelphia. So they're kind of new to our watershed, but there's a similar study going on in the Brandywine right now, which some of you may be aware of. And our steering committee is going to be made up and partners that are going to have a lot of input into this, of the Brandywine Conservancy, the Chester County Water Resources Authority, and University of Delaware, and Stroud. I feel like I'm missing a partner and I shouldn't be. Most of you know Ellen Kohler from, she's now with Penn, the Water Center, and she's going to be helping me with a lot of the municipal outreach. And so that's kind of it in a nutshell. I am not a modeler. I am managing this project and trying to bring the right partners in. So I can't answer any detailed questions about the model, but I'm happy to take questions about the project in general.
Yeah, so I got a couple. So
Sure.
why do we need this? Do we not have anything, are you working blind now when you think about the watershed? You have no.
You guys kind of are. So it's kind of a tool to help you and to help me figure out where the best places are for green infrastructure. Like, where are we really going to see an impact downstream? Where can we aggregate stuff so that we can see a reduction in flood risk downstream? The thing that you guys have, your engineers are using the FEMA flood maps, which are based on historical data. So this is progressive and can actually be used into 2100, like the year 2100. So we are projecting out that far, and it should be more useful. So for anyone doing any type of planning.
But wouldn't you use the historical data? I would imagine the model would be based on that too. Like you'd be feeding all this.
Well, so we will be able to show current situations, like where we are now, and then we're going to do future projections or future climate scenarios.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand. So right now you have nothing to work with. It's just historical.
Yeah, really just what we see on the ground and the 100-year flood maps. But so say, for instance, like here's an example, because we work with National Park Service. When they're doing permit reviews, the Section 7 permit reviews, which go to them whenever you guys are doing anything in the White Clay, in the bed and banks of the river, they might be able to say, okay, this is an undersized culvert for the next 20 years. This will be undersized. So you're going to spend money to replace this when you could have replaced it with something maybe slightly larger that would last longer. So I think those are kind of where, and this is up to you guys, but that's how you could use it.
Just some other questions. So I worry about, not that I'm not in support of the idea, just in terms of the model. The model is only as good as the information. Any model is only as good as the information you put into it. And so I hear what you're saying, that you need help to validate it. And will this be a continuous process? Because you could validate, you'll gather information, but as time goes on, you may need to modify your model. So is this just a one-shot deal? Here's your model. Will this be an interactive, continuous type process?
So the model itself, the base model, once it's developed, it's developed. The only thing that's going to change are other inputs like land cover, development, which we're going to build into that tool. It could be incorporated into future models if we felt it was necessary and there was enough change worthy to do that. But the base model can be used going forward as long as someone has funding to put money into it and change that.
So the model gets updated with new data.
That's what.
Yeah, Shane, how about like weather
Yeah,
data? What if rainfall drops off or increases if drought happens?
Yeah.
Are you going to be able to change your simulation data for not just current stuff or historical as it becomes live, but are you going to be able to change simulation data for later on?
I believe once the model's built, that could be done. We're not expecting to have to do that because we're trying to make it useful for at least the next century. So and this is based on historical data. That's how they do the future climate projections too. They look at what's been happening over the past, I don't know how many years to develop that. So I think these are more questions for the modeler, but once we
Yeah.
have that model, and this is a big effort right now across the country and specifically in Chester County, they just published their Watersheds 2045 report, and their goal is to have flood studies for each of the watersheds in the county by the next time they do their update to that report.
So Shane, what you're asking for is from our township that yes, we want to participate in this effort, and what you're asking for us to provide is time.
Yeah, pretty much.
We don't have a check to write. It's, will we provide our time to help you if you need it and when you need it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Shane, maybe that was one of my questions. I saw in the original email that there was about 24 hours that the pro already committed to, but how many hours? I don't, so I'm assuming those hours would be for Franklin Township portion of this thing.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, but how many hours in total would be spent in Franklin Township? I don't know if you know the answer to that, but I mean, I just want a comparative that they're going to spend hundreds of hours compared to like 24, or
So
if
I'm
it's
not sure I understand the question. And maybe if I say this, like we went out to the watershed municipalities, all of them, to get support. And most of them are giving us between 24 and 36 hours. And it's basically, you can give as much time as you want to this project, but that's what we think, that's what we're estimating the time would be for you to be able to give us you don't have to be involved. We can do this without you. It's just, I think it's going to be a better model with you.
yeah, we want to be involved. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
because
Oh, yeah.
you know your areas, and like sometimes the flood maps, like you might be seeing flooding somewhere that a normal, like a FEMA map isn't going to show. And that might be because of something going on with your drainage system or the stormwater management going on in that area, or a road. I don't know why it would have sunk, but like there's other areas that flood besides the creek. And so that's,
I guess the question is just how, like, we have to put a number down. What would be the number? Is it 24 hours? Right? So we're going to say, hey, Franklin Township loves this idea.
Yeah, I think 24 hours is plenty for you. I mean, meaning we're only in half your watershed. So some of the municipalities are a lot larger, so they're putting in a little bit more time.
Sorry. Yeah. So I guess the question, this is kind of maybe a silly question, but it's the 20, let's say we say, hey, 24 hours. Is that 24 hours in a month? Or is it spread out over a year? Or is it 1 week where we're going to just spend 3 days with you working an 8-hour day? Like, do you anticipate it? How do you see the spread?
I guess I would say we'd probably have an initial meeting with you for maybe an hour, trying to see what data you have and what we need and what we can get from you. Then we'd go back after the model's been created and show you the maps, and then have you mark places on the maps and just ensure that our maps are showing what you are seeing right now currently on the ground and that we're not missing anything. So that would be a second meeting. And then, really it would be coming back again and seeing if we need to revalidate. So that depends on how it goes the first time around. And then you'd be invited to the meetings, with other stakeholders and public meetings. And we're envisioning probably one in Pennsylvania, one in Delaware, and then maybe one at the end, like to kind of wrap everything up.
I was just trying to gauge disruption. Like, do people have to block out a day or two? But it sounds like it's schedule a meeting here, schedule a meeting there, and okay.
One thing that resonates with me too is as Shane said, there's something green that happens as an action to this.
Hmm.
Would we be able to count it for MS4?
That's a good question. Does this
Well,
relate to MS4?
But I mean, you can use it to help you guide where you put your green infrastructure or your stormwater management for MS4. Now, this grant does not support MS4 work, so we cannot put that in the grant. We learned that the hard
right.
No.
years ago.
It would be an
So-
act, that's why I said it's an action after. This would be something that we would do as a result of this, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's really what I'm looking at this for, because we do projects like that, as you guys know.
Mhm.
You know, so we will be looking to use this as a guide to where we direct some of our limited time and funding, you know, like where we're gonna have the most impact. So that's how we're hoping to use it. It can also help with policies. Like if you have, you know, a buffer policy and we can show you, hey, if you increase the buffer to this much in this area, you might see, well, you would get water quality benefits for your MS4, but you might see also a reduction in flood risk, you know, 40 years down the road with the tree planting at least. There's other nature-based projects. I was just using that one as an example because it can tie back to policy as well.
Yes, so Shane, I'll admit, I'm the one person who said, I'm not signing this to understand what the project is. So I really appreciate you coming in and talking to us. And I would just ask that in the future, because I'm hoping that we continue to work together, that you just allow some time in your schedule as you're planning these, you know, these grants, just to bring the board in. So we can hear what you're planning and ask some questions and hopefully at the end of the day, give you the support that you're asking for. Okay.
Sure.
Thanks, so. So what do we need? A motion, or do we just say we'll write the letter?
I think the letter's here.
I think we just-
No, we just need to sign this letter.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Andrew, I hope you're okay. I think it should come from Dave, if that's all right with you. The letter? Yeah. So, yeah, I think.
You have a clean copy? All right. All right. Let's knock this out right now.
They'll sign the letter.
Dave, I think you can sign the letter. I think the board all approves. There doesn't need to be a formal motion for that. And thank you for that presentation.
Thank you, Shane.
Sure, thank you. I'll keep you updated. I won't find out until mid or late August if we get the funding. So now there's a lag time.
Well, great.
all right.
Thank you and good luck.
Great, thank you.
Lost my agenda. There it is. All right, so Don's next. All right, thank you, Andrea. Is there anything else on Parks and Recs before we move on to
Nope, all good.
Hey, Andrea, I have one question.
Sure.
Last month, when we approved all the trails for crossing, there was, they were in like sections, right? Or what do we call them?
Phases or something?
Phases, yeah. Do you have an update on, is there any update on those phases? I know some work has been done, but no update for tonight?
I don't have one. I think Paul
I can
may
give
be
you one.
here,
Paul.
or Dave
Yeah.
can, but I don't personally have an update now.
Okay.
I can give an update if you like, Jim.
Yeah, if you have something quick, I think it would be worth it.
I didn't prepare a PowerPoint or anything, but there's 3 phases. The main phase, the biggest part, is the straight run the east to west called Old Post Road. And that has been cleared with volunteers and the 3 bridges put in place using the old boardwalks from the Scout project. The one boardwalk needs to be elevated a little bit and fastened down because it's in jeopardy of washout because it crosses that substantial stream that's near the big bridge. If you recall what I'm talking about, it's the first crossing.
Yeah.
So that needs a little work just to stake it down and raise it up a little bit. The other 2 can just sit where they are. There's no flow. It's just rain drainage over at that end, but they're in place as well. And the second project was over by the big metal bridge that crosses White Clay Creek. We said, if you recall, there was it's a gravel walkway. It needs to have a better swale cut across it so the water crosses the walkway, because right now it runs down the walkway, and maybe refresh it with a little bit of spread gravel just to make it revive where it has been washed out. So that hasn't happened at all. We haven't done anything there. Then the third part is at the far end. where we had to connect Old Post Road to the existing trail system. We had about 150 feet of kind of muddy old trail, and that's where we brought in the millings. We walked it one day. I think it was Dave and Donna and Jeff. I'm sorry if I left somebody out. And they agreed, you know, it looks good, but we need a little bit more millings down there to, it wasn't quite enough, you know, it's just so muddy down there, but it is walkable now, but as the worst part of the year, it doesn't look very good if we could add a little more millings, but I think you had some questions about those millings, Jim, and so I think that was going to be the discussion tonight, and whatever you guys approve, whether it's another load of millings or stone to dress it up, whichever, and then we could spread that out, and that section would be finished. And then one part I didn't really talk about is, you know, we have the scout doing trail signage in Franklin, and he's only volunteered to do Franklin, and we need to extend that into Crossan. So I would say the last phase of all of this is what Andrea mentioned earlier, is we're designing those loops. That map isn't finished because the loops weren't shown complete, but they would be complete colored loops. And then we would have signage and trail markers, but we'd bring all that to you before we bought anything or installed anything. And I think it should be done sooner than later. So rather than wait for another scout, maybe we would just go ahead and do that, propose that as a project for us when we get it all together. Is that,
Thank
is
you.
that good?
That's good. Yeah, that sounds great. Thanks for all the work.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as you guys said it, the next weekend we were out clearing that trail. So, and we put the boardwalks in. The last boardwalk went in after the Easter egg hunt on Saturday.
All right. Thanks, Paul.
Yep.
Are you ready for me?
We're ready for Dawn.
Okay. Well, a lot of the stuff that the Healing Garden folks do dovetail right into Pro Committee. And we are working on starting. People have to understand that the Healing Garden are native plants. So native plants are not like your normal garden. So all of you gardeners that are out gardening already, we are told to wait for all the pollinators to come out of the little stalks and from under the leaves. And it's very hard for all of us as well. But the first thing we decided to do over at the Healing Garden was pull out all the little red bud saplings, which we knew had to come out. And we didn't have the heart to throw them away. So we thought, what can we do with them? We'll give them away at the Easter program. Well, it was a hit. And I put out for other people to bring anything they were digging out of their gardens or other plants they had. And I said, it doesn't have to be native, just bring plants. Well, we had more positive, I can't say how many excited. And Betsy brought babies from her jade plants, and the children were thrilled with these little baby jade plants. So the thought of getting everybody into the gardening mode for the spring was spectacular. So we were very happy with that. So we're planning on what we can do. I still have had calls for more red buds, and we actually have more red buds in the garden. So we don't have a problem with that. We can do another free giveaway of red buds soon. So anyway, so that's it and we're starting on cleaning up the garden, but the rule for a native garden is to wait till it's 50 degrees or more consistently. And that's hard for all of us, but we can start pulling out the sticks and we can start pulling out the weeds that are obvious weeds. So we've started a little bit up in the garden to clean up. Now the bluebirds are here. The bluebirds are here. The bluebird trail has been refurbished by our wonderful bluebird queen, Amy. And she is over there and she has put hooks on all the bluebird boxes, and Betsy has cleaned out all the bluebird boxes. And we have the 2 bluebird signs that were beautifully done by Kyle Bianco of the Pro Committee. And I can't thank her enough for all the changes and things we went through to get the bluebird signs. They are currently being made. They're very educational. We have 2 of them for the trail that are going to go up. So we have those that are coming very, very soon. The story time from the Avon Grove Library has been rescheduled again for this year. They are thrilled. We have 2 days in May, and we have all of the Fridays in August at 10 o'clock. So we're excited about that. And we also are working with them, and we're going to have a decorating contest of our little libraries that we put up. We put up two, one in the Healing Garden, one in the Tot Lot, and one over here at the office. And we're going to do a decorating contest of those little libraries. So we will have that done hopefully by the Fall Festival. So that's our cue for that. And then the garden volunteers, while we're not digging in the garden right yet, we are working on getting a list of all of our potential speakers, because we have the most wonderful list of people in our area that can do classes for us and programs in the garden and in the park. And we've got a page full of people that are willing to come over and help us and give us some lectures and classes. So we are very, very active and very, very busy right now getting into ready for spring.
Hey,
The
Dawn,
trail's up and running.
planted,
Yep.
I planted the red buds you gave me in Bamshire, but if you have more, I could use some more over there.
All right.
Dawn, I do have the Bluebird sign pulled up on my computer. Would you like me to share it? Has everyone,
That would be
has everyone seen
wonderful.
that?
That would be wonderful.
Let's see here. Okay, here it is. So there was
Yeah.
a lot of back and forth on this, but it is, I think it's going to be beautiful. There's a QR code so that people can report their observations while they're out there, and a lot of good information.
It's wonderful. Absolutely. Kyle made the signs that are in the Healing Garden now. She did this sign, and I've got some other signs I want her to work on for us because they are fabulous.
Dawn, approximately how big are they? Can you remind us?
They're 18 by 24. And we got the same price that Jeff had originally got them for before all the changes. So we're good to go. Any questions?
No, good stuff.
I have a question, John. Are you gonna have teams that decorate this for this contest?
This is a contest. The boxes are plain. The libraries are plain.
Right.
So if you've seen other libraries, what we want to do is the one for the Tot Lot has to be the theme of the Tot Lot. Okay, the one for the garden has to be the theme of the garden. And the one for the office, the adults, has to be an adult theme, but they have to think up a funny name other than adult library.
All right, thank you, Dawn. All right, so the next topic of conversation is going to be the Big Elk Creek State Park. A quick refresher, we worked with the DCNR to develop a task force. We have appointed members who are going to join these task force meetings. And so I think Elk has someone who's going there to give them brief updates. And in our township, Antia Consorto is going to be providing us with our updates. So Antia, can you kind of give us an update on where we're at? And you're going to go ballistic.
So there's not really a huge update because the first meeting is not until next week. All I can tell you is all the task force members have been chosen. John Hollis from DCNR added some people to the task force, some stakeholders. So he added Lincoln University, he added the Pennsylvania Parks and Forests Foundation, and he added Penn Environment. And London, Britain. Yes, thank you. Or no, New London. New London.
2 people for each.
So there's one person for Lincoln University. There's one person for Penn Environment, and there's one person for the PPFF. And then New London got 2 people. He has decided the meetings are going to be closed to everyone except for task force members. So stakeholders are not invited to these meetings. I don't necessarily agree with that, but, and the meetings will be recorded, but only for the purposes of them putting together meeting minutes after the fact. So the recordings will not be available to the public. Just the meeting minutes after the meetings take place will be posted on their Big Elk Creek website.
I'm confused. So
You and me both.
so you meet, don't you meet and talk and agree these things? Like, I can understand.
We
you
haven't
have
met
to-
yet.
So I don't know what state your mind is, but if I would be pushing back on some of this. I mean, I know you have to meet first, right? But shouldn't the task force have something to say about, who's, even what we do with the tapes? Like we want to make sure that the tapes are publicly available, or we want to make sure that people can listen or
I agree.
Yeah.
So what we've done so far is we did push back on the initial times because he was trying to set the times for 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. in the middle of the weeks. So we did get him to push that so that the meetings are now 6 to 9 p.m. so that everybody can actually, go to work and then go to the meeting. And I'm saying we, I can't say we. I feel that the meeting recordings should be available to the public. I think the stakeholders at the very least should be able to attend the meetings so that, right, to listen. We haven't been able to push back on that yet because none of us have gotten together. We need to get together as a group to talk about it first. I don't know that he's going to allow that because in the emails, it's coming across very much as he's taking control. This is how it's going to work. This is what you will do. We're going to listen to what you have to say and then say thank you very much and go do what they want to do anyway. So
yeah, so I think you can only do so much, but I think I don't know if you realize that you probably do because you've been on top of everything, but we as a group that came together to put together you guys suggested several things. One is that there's a co-chair. So I would put that out there too. Remind them that we wanted a co-chair. And there was agreement from across everyone at our meetings that said that they want, of course, John wasn't there. But I would bring that up again, remind them that, and so I just think you have to at least try. He may say no, but you have to at least try.
To kind of, I can't remember who was all copied, but I sent at the end of our last meeting, I sent a meeting summation of the agreements that we came to and what we wanted to see from the task force. So I can forward that to you.
Okay.
So it kind of organizes all the things that we agreed to. Now, the caveat was DCNR chose not to participate in that meeting. And we had asked a couple of folks to go ahead and forward this and discuss this with DCNR. So at least you will have that and you can use that as to help you with some of those talking points. So I'm going to look for that.
I would like the stakeholders to push back on the fact that they're not allowed to attend. Because, I mean,
Well, I just heard this now, right?
just us saying that we want you to be there doesn't mean as much as if you guys push back. So it would be the townships, primarily it would be the townships and the county commissioners, right? Because Representative Lawrence appointed himself and the senators appointed themselves. So they'll be there, but the townships won't be. And neither will the county commissioners. And I know the county commissioners had said that they would like to attend as well. So I think if you guys could all get together and kind of push back and at least get them to allow stakeholders into the meeting. I know he's never going to go for the public to be there, but that, and, I feel like the recordings won't be, he's using them just to make meeting minutes. So I don't know if that's something that perhaps.
So if I may, as soon as those recordings are made, they would be a record, in my view, under the Right to Know Act. That'd be the position.
That's what I assumed, and I wasn't sure.
And it's a reasonable assumption to make, given the way it's set up. I would take the position, and I wouldn't be confrontational about it as an attorney, that once that's created, here's my right to know request. You preserve that document until my right to know request is either honored or denied and upheld on at any appellate level. I'm not telling you to try to duke it out, but I'm suggesting that a right to know request that asks for the audio cassette recorded meeting of March 28th between 6 PM and 9 PM be provided, that would be arguably a public record. And what's confidential about the task force's business?
Well, that's what we assume, that's what we were thinking. I spoke to someone else who's an attorney who said that it wouldn't hurt to send a preservation of evidence letter to make sure that any recordings that are made during any of these task force meetings are saved. They can't delete them. For whether it's because we go to court and we want to have them as a record, or if we want to write to know request them to make sure that they get out there to the public.
Yeah, I think you need, because I can see what they said, we got the minutes, they can go away.
Exactly, and that's what my concern is.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm just making the comment that what I would worry about is that as soon as they had the minutes, they would say, we don't need these anymore, and they would delete them.
Exactly, that's why I was thinking we need to send that letter.
So the letter that I sent to this board that we sent to DCNR.
Okay.
Right, and I mean, I love to bug him anyway, so I will send an email to him saying that we would like the task force to, or whatever we were called. What were we?
We're the stakeholders.
Yeah,
You're the stakeholders and we're the task force. I'm not
To
sure
be able
who
to
was-
listen.
Yeah.
like to be able to hear.
I wasn't sure who was CC'd on the email because he blind CCs everyone, so I don't see who the emails go to, but I'm happy to forward the emails that he has sent to all of you. Because he did change the August date since the time changed.
Okay.
DCNR had conflicts, so they changed the date of the August meeting.
Good. Just keep the faith, keep, because I'd like to have you, if you don't mind, if the board doesn't mind, come back after you have the meeting and just use us as the ability to get some of your word out. I know you have your own ability, but people that can hear it, they'll know that they can hear what the summary of the meetings were. I don't think you're sworn to secrecy. So I think you can come back and tell us what's being discussed. The other thing, just in terms of keeping the faith, think of where we were, right? We knew nothing. At the worst situation, you're going to at least have a window into what they're thinking. You may not know it all, but you'll have a window. And you'll also be able to provide that window to other people. So at the worst, this is still a step forward. I don't want you to lose heart.
No, I just really want the transparency to
Right.
come across. They promised transparency. They promised to build up the trust with the public, and I don't feel like that's being done. So.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh my, so I just have to introduce Jeff. So Jeff, just if you could give us, I know Ron's been doing stuff in the background for MS4, just maybe a brief update on what's going on.
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. With Ron's coordination with PADEP on London Brighton, London Grove, and New London Township, TMDLs, it appears that PADEP is accepting Ron Reagan's approach to MS4 mapping, including the parsing. LTL had used a similar approach. So right now, Ron is going through the treasure trove of information from Arrow. At some point in the near future, at the staff level, and of course, I would certainly invite any board member that wants to attend, have a Zoom meeting with DEP. But things seem to be going along well with Ron, and it's been a pleasure to work with him.
So Jeff, based on what you're saying, he's had conversations with DEP, so, or some kind of, I don't know, just a sense of what's going on. He's had something, right?
He has had a conversation with DEP regarding Franklin Township. Trying to use Ron's words. He feels we're going to be able to meet somewhere in the middle between Ron's optimistic initial assessment and then what our previous engineering firm had. But Ron is still of the feeling that we're going to improve upon what we had before.
Yeah, I just think it's good. I think it's good for DEP to know that we're still working it, because that's, for them, it's all about effort, right? And so the fact that he's contacted them, had some kind of conversations, because I don't know what Arrow would have told them. So maybe not, I don't know, but at least he's acknowledging he's in charge.
Yes.
He's he's working it. He's not gonna get a commitment from DEP until they see the numbers. So they actually, but he can get a sense of what they're looking for. So I think this is really good.
No, exactly correct. And one of the neat things that Ron says, and I truly believe, he's from this area, his heart is here. And he does enjoy helping the community. And that'd go a long way with all of the MS4 programs that he's working on.
Thanks a lot, Jeff.
Okay, there was no March meeting for the Planning Commission, the Historic Commission, or the Harbor, so there are no reports.
Thank you, Jim. So just a couple of quick, so we're going to transition into business here. Just a couple of quick fun things. One, we have our Franklin Fall Festival planning underway. Our date is September 14th, 2024 for the this upcoming Fall Festival. So that's something for us to look forward to. Anyone want to talk about our Easter event that we just had on Saturday? I thought it went really well. I was surprised at the turnout.
Yeah.
I don't know if we want to.
Well, we figured if it was the reward for good work is more work, because if there's any indication from the turnout for Easter, and I think everybody again had a wonderful, wonderful time. I think we have another wonderful fall festival to look forward to.
Absolutely.
So we already have started our first collaborative meeting. We have another one coming up, but our little face painter that was there at Easter is the one that was there at our first fall festival. And I just think it's been contagious. I just think the whole thing's been contagious.
It's really great.
So from what I understand, we had more than double last year at the Easter.
Yeah, easy.
And we got to up our game a little bit next year, I think.
Yeah.
Donna said, whatever you did, I think we have to triple it.
Yeah. People had a great time. The plant swaps were great. For me, who knows nothing about plants other than you put them in the ground and water them occasionally. It was great to have all those folks to answer questions, and I took a bunch of plants home with me. So it was great event.
I felt that it was such a community builder. I heard so many people saying, oh, it was good to catch up with you. It was good to see you. I mean, this was a time where I think a lot of families got together, saw each other, played together, spent time together. I mean, we all saw it in all of our families that were there. So I just think community-wise, it was a fabulous event.
We had, I'd say, in the neighborhood of 300 people in attendance. That's from the state police estimate who was there. And I just wanted to say thank you to the staff and the volunteers. They did a wonderful job. Also, I wanted to give a shout out to Brandywine Septic. They did donate a porta john for the day and a hand washing station. And then we also got 40 pounds of candy donated from the Smarties company.
Fantastic.
So all of that was a big hit. So the Smarties candy and the Easter eggs were gone literally within 20 minutes. And another shout out is for Zigzag Aerial. They wanted to attend. There's some neat and interesting photos on our website. And he will soon be posting some short videos from that day as well. But lots of moms and dads came up to me, thanked the board of supervisors and staff. They were very pleased and they hoped that we would do it again.
Yeah, I want to just do another shout out because with the FSA, to see the kids play on those beautifully painted tot lot, but they didn't just come, they stayed. They stayed and loved it. So it was just can't say enough that we have such a beautiful park, and it's good to see the young kids and the young families out there using it. It was just a really nice experience.
And I want to give a shout out to Stacy for her egg decorating, which I thought was a marvelous idea because everybody got a chance. There were plain eggs, there were stickers and markers, and it was an easy do-it-yourself program. I mean, it was marvelous. That was just absolutely marvelous. And the face painting, our little girl that does the face painting, people love her. So she's coming back again. And just a little kick for the fall festival. Her father he ropes cows. So they already are going to come back and do a roping demonstration for the kids, cowboy style.
Send the cows out in the field.
So we're gonna have a fake cow with cow roping. So I'm just saying, and we've already got our music planned. We've already got some really good, cool ideas for the fall festival started. So just a little shout out.
Maybe pony rides.
Cow rides.
Cow rides.
All right, excellent. Thank you for that. And it was a great event. And then the third bullet point here is our Earth Day, Franklin Township Cleanup Day, which will be April 20th, 2024. And John Auerbach is organizing that for us. I don't know, John, if you want to say a few words about that event.
Yeah, I do. I have a quick update here. Jeff and I were contacted by New London Township, which is doing their cleanup about a week before or 2 weeks before ours. And he proposed a map that was fairly aggressive. It came out and indicated they were going to clean up a lot of Franklin Township roads. And I didn't have any objection to them cleaning up Route 896 and 841 because we've never put people out there because of the risk of the high-speed traffic. But there were some other roads that we asked them to avoid and let our folks clean them up. And that was Guernsey Road, Appleton Road, Hess Mill Road, Strickerville's Road, and Pennock Bridge Road. So I think Jeff communicated that to him. So the only other thing I got, some unrelated, in driving around looking, I saw some PennDOT roads which are in extremely poor condition. Pennock Bridge Road and North Creek Road, very poor condition with many deep potholes, and driving is fundamentally an obstacle course on those roads. They're an embarrassment to the township, but they're not our responsibility. And if there's anything we can do to contact PennDOT to get them to engage those roads, they're really in very poor condition.
John, one thing I wanted to encourage to the public, which I have done, PennDOT does have a website where you can report potholes and problems on roads and all of that good stuff. So I've already done Pennock's Bridge. I've done the road in front of Jim's house. I can't think of the name of that. North Creek.
North Creek Road
And
is
also 896 as well.
That's been terrible for years.
Yeah.
So I would encourage, the public to reach out to me. I can give them the website. I can post the website for them to contact PennDOT, but it's hard to get someone on the phone that will listen to you.
Yep.
Okay.
Is anyone monitoring the website?
Yeah.
Because
Hopefully on PennDOT's side.
Yep. That's all I have. I think the road cleanup program will go on very well. We just take the people who show up and put them to work. So.
All right. Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Speaking of roads. 2024.
Betsy, microphone.
We have the 2024 road program overview. And Jeff is going to talk a little bit more about that.
Sure, I'd be happy to. And if Dave or Betsy, you want to weigh in based on our meeting with Ron, please do so. We've been assessing our roads for a little while now. And the reason it's taken us a little longer than normal is we've had a problem with people calling it winter deterioration. This has been across several townships, but we've had some roads, some areas, Flint Hill Road being affected the worst, where it's just breaking up and crumbling. A portion of Hess Mill. We do have a small place on Auburn Road, Kimbalot Lane, and Cavender Lane as well. So our road program has evolved, and the option that we seem to be all in agreement on is option number one, which will do the following. Mackey Court. This will take care of the drainage. That's been a long-standing problem there. Patching the winter deterioration. And Flint Hill Road from 841 to Paradox. And I apologize, there's one area on the winter deterioration that I forgot, and that was Cavender Lane. So the total for option one, which includes Mackey Court, Parsons Road, Flint Hill Road, the total for that for the paving is $234,971.23. And that's our engineer's estimate. The other two items that we will be working on are the infiltration trench for Southview Estates and Thompson Estates. The total estimated cost for those projects is $191,332. Now, just to assure the board, I have been in contact with the homeowner in Thompson Estates, as well as the two homeowners in Southview Estates, to alert them that we would be sending someone out to do some testing. Hopefully that's going to be done in the next week or so if the weather cooperates. And then we will take the initiative to bring those results to the board and also meet with the residents so they know what's going on and it's not a surprise to them. So I'm happy to answer any questions, or if Dave or Betsy or Dawn want to fill in some areas, I'd love to hear from you.
So yeah, I'll just make a brief comment about the quality of the roads that we're responsible for in Franklin Township. I would have to say over the past 10 years, Franklin Township has done a very good job proportioning a significant amount of our budget to road improvement projects and resurfacing. And when we're talking about the roads that we're looking at now, outside of the ones that blew up because of winter weather, our roads are in very, very good shape. We're talking about going from a road system, we used a system called robotics, where most of the roads needed attention, to now we're really approaching a maintenance level of service to the roads. So just kind of a commendable that if you look at the number of roads and what we're doing here, the numbers are going down in terms of what we actually need to spend every year on these roads. So I guess I just wanted to kind of tip my hat to the leadership over the last 10 years. It's not just this board. It's been a couple of boards that have really focused on this. And so we're in really, really good shape. That being said, we have a couple of roads in our road system that are PennDOT owned, North Creek being probably the primary example of one that really needs to get focus on. And so I think we need to work on ways that we can maybe get some leverage with PennDOT and get them down here to take a look at it. Because that's really, as John put, an embarrassment that they haven't given us that attention. So that's just my quick summation.
And just one last thing to say to the board and the public. We always have additional roads in the pipeline that may not need attention now, but we are looking out 2, 3, 4 years. We have a list and we're always monitoring that.
Jeff, I have just two quick ones. Flint Hill Road, is that from 841 all the way to Franklin Township line?
To Paradox Vineyard, sir.
Okay, so there is a piece of Franklin Township that's not anticipated in this number.
Correct, sir.
Okay. And then will the roads and the drainage issues go out for bid to one bid, or are they separate bids?
The paving, sir, will be separate from the infiltration pits. We think that's the fairest thing to do and to get the best people on each of those different types of jobs.
Okay. That's all I had. Thanks.
Yeah, I just wanted to make one comment to the public that there is a large piece of money. I think it's like 192,000. I'm not exactly sure how much that is, liquid fuel money that we get every year for the roads. So I know when we talk about $426,000, that's a lot of money. But just be aware that there is money that's dedicated, at least half of that is dedicated to do road work. And I just want public to know that we are using it as we're supposed to, and it will make some major improvements.
Absolutely, great point.
So is there anything that we need to do tonight other than just get this update in terms of?
I would say no, other
Okay.
than Ron and I want to march forward with these bid packages.
Perfect.
So as long as I can get, and Guy's okay with this, a head nod from the board, we're going to move forward with it.
That's fine with me.
So option one.
Yeah. There was some discussion on taking a look at how we construct our bid packages. Is that something that we want to discuss now, today, or is this something that we want to discuss when it comes closer to when the bid packages are actually written to provide a comparison?
I would say we should talk about it now, because if we can get those bid packages done in the next couple weeks, it'd be
Do we have examples in here or a summation in here in our meeting book? Or I can give a brief summary.
Why don't you go ahead, if you want to
And
give a brief
correction.
and then I'll
And then
try and fill in the
blanks.
gaps.
So, yeah, absolutely. So at a very high level, there's a couple of different ways that you can bid out a road program, or you could bid out really any project. One is you give them the breadth of work and a contractor comes in and says it's going to cost me $500,000 to do that. And you pay them $500,000 and they go do the thing. The other method, or another method, is you pay essentially by, you rent time, right? You rent the equipment, and that method is they can give you an estimate and say, yeah, this is probably a 1,000-hour job, and this is what we can estimate the bid package is going to be. So you pay for the time it takes them to do the project. So what option one does is it locks in the price, right? What option two does is it allows us to make changes to our proposed road program as the road program is being completed, right? So, and the reason this is important would be, say, I have a straight stretch, half a mile of road. It's going to take them 8 hours to do. Right? I'm making these numbers up. I have no idea how long it takes them to do anything. It takes them 8 hours to do this straight stretch of road. We say we don't need that straight stretch. We need this windy, uphill, poor sightline road. Same square footage.
Right.
They're going to say, no way, that's going to take us 16 hours. We got to, And so what that enables our township to do is be a lot more flexible in our road program. So if a road does blow up in the meantime, we have the option to say, hey, do this instead of that. Without worrying that the contractor is going to walk away from the job.
Do you buy by the hour? Like, do you say 1,000 hours worth of work?
So I think you rent as you rent it as they use it, right? So it takes them. Now, the question that I asked and why I want a comparison is what is the cost differential, right? So if we give that, so in my experience, we haven't run into this issue where we've called an audible, as they say, and swapped out a road that the contractor refused to do. So what is does that added flexibility, how much more cost does that have? We don't know that answer. But those are the two options. So
Plus, as a contractor, you don't really have, you have to promise, like, if I was your contractor, tell me I'm going to pay you by the hour and the material. I want to know how much of my time you think you're going to need.
So we give them the road bid. We give them the whole
So
program.
they have a sense.
Yeah. So
Yes.
so the bidding process, how we construct the bid package is essentially the same. Here's all the roads we want, and then they come in and say that's going to take us, however long it takes them to do that, and they give us the estimate.
Dave, could we ask them to bid it two ways?
Yes. It's called an alternative bid. You say bid this, and if you want to bid alternative B, do that as well. You can either require it, or you can present that as an option, and then the contractors can either choose to bid it in that way or not.
Right.
You may encounter a poor bidding environment if alternative B is so difficult to
Or unknown to them.
or
Right.
unknown.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm coming in here with not advocating for either method. I just don't know. I'm asking questions and I'd like to see what it looks like, on the other end. So.
I do know this from Ron Reagan, this has been done successfully with East Nottingham Township. And of course, staff here, if that's the way we ultimately go, the bid package would be pre-approved by PennDOT before advertising it and putting it out to bid, just to make sure everyone's on the same field, going the same way.
So Jeff, is there, it's March 20th, we're gonna have a meeting at the beginning of April, right? A planning meeting. Yeah, so are we gonna, is there something we could look at and decide at that meeting? So we can actually see what the different bids look like? Examples?
Can we move forward with the bid and make that decision as we go on, as long as we have board approval?
Yes.
So if they get it, I'm using this as an example, if Ron gets it done next week,
Does the bid package?
it does a bid package next week, and I send it to the board, they report back to me individually with a yes or a no.
Right.
Then we can-
Perfectly acceptable.
I'm just thinking of time. Cause I'm happy to do whatever the board wants. I'm just thinking.
Well, that's
of
what, we're
time.
only 10 or 11 days away, or 11 or 12 days away from the next.
April 1st.
Right, it'll be,
I mean, is there a rush on this? Do we need to have it done by April 1st or can we?
No, I thought Jeff was saying that he wanted us to do it individual approvals before April 1st, right?
Well, we have what the scope of the program is.
Okay.
We know that. We know we have the engineer's estimates. So right now it's the path that we go forward.
Right.
So staff wouldn't dare change the road program and add a road or take a road out without consulting the board. So
I said you could ask the bidders for both. You could at least ask, request, they may not give it to you.
what if they don't give it?
So you may not get a robust bidding environment and you'll be stuck with, or you'll have to choose from the time and materials bid. What I call a time and materials bid.
Okay. But what I would like to do, my understanding was, maybe I was wrong about this, was that we would get a sense of what in general, what a price differential is between option A and option B. Because that's going to dictate really the path we go down. Because in my experience, we haven't run into this issue. I don't think ever where we've said, changed midstream and said, hey, we're going to actually do this road, not that road, and then had a major problem. So I just want to make sure that if we're doing this, we're not spending an inordinate more amount of money
For the flexibility.
that we don't need.
Right.
Yes, thank you.
Understood.
Yeah.
I understand.
So, and I understand what Guy was saying too, is that they're bidding on the same thing two different ways, right? And one is known, one is you might switch it up. So I got to put a risk factor in. And that's what we're trying to see if what their risk factor is. Really.
All right, we will work on that and then we'll put this on the agenda for the April 1st meeting.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Jeff. All right.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. All right, next is a motion to propose the annual resolution for the FSA. I don't think I can just make the motion, right? All right, I'll make a motion to approve the resolution 2024-06, the FSA hunting license renewal for 2024-2025 hunting season.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion?
I have a question. Is this gonna be the same as it was last year? Are we taking the two cross trails of Bamshire out?
That's separate from this.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-0.
Is there a paper I gotta sign? Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, she's right.
I seem to remember that. Yeah, I've only done it 4 or 5 times already. All right, thank you.
Down here next.
All right, I can start on Sue.
No, go for it.
All right. So the line item says Banffshire and FSA, but really what we really wanted to revisit and talk about was how, so last year we had a cross trail in Banffshire closed for the hunting season. And the reason was that, we had a conversation with Mark Zawada and during an open meeting, and he was talking about problems with dogs off leash and people walking through and then we came up with this idea. Well, maybe let's close the trail and see how the harvest or not. And so I think so let me just give you some background from as far as the office goes from Township residents. Did we receive any complaints, any issues directed towards the office?
Not that I received, sir.
Okay. And I guess my second question was regarding the impact that had on hunting in Banffshire. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that. I don't think Mark's on the call, so
No,
but you can go ahead.
The year before there were 0 deer taken from Banffshire, and this last year there were 3 taken from those areas that were closed. And it's only a partial part of the season. It was only for 6 weeks from November 1st to like towards the middle of December.
All right, trails from November 1st. November 1st to what?
I think this year it's not finalized by the PGC yet, but
Okay.
I think it's the December 14th is the last day of hunting.
Okay. I mean, I don't think we need a motion. I guess I'll ask folks for a comment if people have any comments on whether or not we should.
So I'm open to it again. I think we.
Did you have to say would like it?
Okay, yeah, I mean, I would, three less deer. I mean, it may not seem like a lot, but we're just inundated with them. And it's just 6 weeks of the year, but I don't know, I think it's worth it, but that's just my opinion.
Betsy, you done? Okay, I mean, so what do we do? I mean, we don't have to really do it. It's not a motion.
So Dave, can we weigh in as the pro or not? Like, I feel like you guys don't have all the data that you need to make the decision.
So if you'd like to make a comment, sure.
So it's true if you reported 0 the year before and 3 that year, but Jim, what were the averages for the 10 years prior? Because in my records, it's 2 to 4 deer per year, average of 3. So on average over 10 years, it's no different. You didn't gain anything on average.
I don't have that data. I didn't bring that with me.
Right. So we didn't improve overall. You can look at the total, right? Was it 12 for the year, I think, which is about the average?
It was 14.
All right. So then if I look at the number of days, 39 days were available during those 6 weeks of hunting where the trails were closed, and guys only showed up on 18 of those days. And that was one person. We can fit 12 hunting trips in a day, meaning there's 6 places to hunt and twice a day, one morning, one evening. So out of all those trips that are possible for hunting, all those opportunities, we only hunted 18. So that's 4%. So we closed the trail for 6 weeks and guys only hunted on 18 of those days. So It's like
Does
you're
it?
keeping the rest of the public out, but we're not getting the benefit.
So here's a question.
Can I say something too? Paul, you're using the wrong stats because most of these people work during the week, so you have to add and they only have Saturday to hunt.
So could we open it during the week and shut it on Saturday?
So here's my thought. I don't want to turn this into a complicated mess, but is it possible to just close the trails when there's a hunter in there? Right? You just
Put
close
the
it.
chain up. Yeah, put the
So
chain
I,
up.
I don't,
That's good.
I don't understand the questioning anyway, Paul, because no one complained.
No way,
during the
that's
whole
not
season.
true. I complain every freaking week. And if you're out
Yeah.
there, when I was out there working and people say, hey, why is the trail closed? What's going on? Like they're asking me, thinking I have it closed for maintenance because the sign doesn't say it's for hunting, like we're keeping it a secret. So I would love that idea of
There's
if
no
you're gonna go
secrets.
hunting, just put the chain across and keep it closed for that day. But the other 40 days, keep it open.
I don't think that's a good idea. I think it would be very confusing to folks. It's open, it's closed, it's open, it's closed. I think it's, so Paul, you're welcome to your opinion. I thought it was helpful. Maybe at the very least, maybe we need to collect more information, do it for a couple more years and see what goes on. But
Yeah, I'm open to
I
that.
just think it's,
Yeah, I mean,
It's-
again,
I think it's
I think
worth
it's a minor impact. And it would be nice to see more data. And again, one of the things that we had talked about, at least I individually talked about it with a couple of the supervisors, is making it plain on the sign, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
if you just say that, the closed for hunting November 1st to December, or whatever it is. And then have if you have any questions, contact the office. So I think that seems to make sense to me.
So I have one more comment is that last year we discussed this in May. And so I thought we had some time to get data to you and walk you through the areas because frankly, I don't think several of you have been on those trails. So you're voting to close something you've never visited, which I don't think is fair. So I would like to have time where I could get people who
So-
are interested to show up to your meeting and express their concern.
So I think that's a fair statement, and we can take that under advisement for next year when we put it under when we discuss it next year, we'll make it clear that hey, we're going to talk about this in whatever month we're going to talk about it. And I would anticipate we would talk about it in any month the month that we generally re-up the FSA hunting license resolution is how I would look at it. Right, it's part of that discussion. Which we normally do in April. But
Yeah, it could be done.
That's a fair point, and I think we could take it under advisement and make sure that we give you plenty of time to talk about this. But I think my perspective, I think I agree with Donna and the rest of the board that this was, fairly successful. The township didn't receive any complaints directly, at least that I'm aware of. We got 3 more deer than we did the previous year. I'd like to see another year and hopefully we get more. So I mean, that's where I'm at on this. So
we deciding like for this upcoming hunting season that we're going to close it and then.
yeah, my suggestion is we continue the program of closing that cross trail.
And make it clear on the sign.
And make it clear on the sign what we're doing. And have people direct questions to the township. They have it.
Could you put the township number on there, please?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I will just say that, sorry, this is Andrea Roberts. I will just say that there was a lot of questions online as to why the trail was closed. And so I think, it seems that the decision is made and that kind of is what it is. But if we can, make sure, and I know that you guys are talking about this now, that truly the public knows, and if there's a way, that Jeff posts it on the Franklin Township Facebook page, because I think a lot of people are, social media is the first place many people go every day. And so if that information is there too, I think that could be very helpful.
I agree.
Yeah, I think that the increased transparency is good feedback. So thank you for that.
All right, so the next discussion is right here is really called trail policy discussion or trail surfacing and procedure. So we have been talking a lot about trails and finalizing the trail. And I'm saying it specifically this way because we really have more or less finalized the trail system in Crossland Park, right? The map that we showed earlier today that Paul Overton has shown is going to be essentially that's going to be the trail system in Crossland. I don't think there's any plans for any major changes. And when we talk about trail surfacing, we're talking about trails that, for lack of a better word, that we're hardening, that we are putting a trail surface on top of dirt, whether it's stone or it's mulch or whatever that was it impervious surface is. And so that's number one is, hey, I think the township needs to come up with a preference.
Right, what's our preference?
What's our preference? And then the second piece is what's our procedure when we say, okay, we're going to harden this trail. And so what do we then do, right? So who does the township manager engage with? And what is the process by which we say, okay, here's the right path forward for this trail? And again, this is, we're not discussing any trail work that has already been done. I think what we're talking about now, and I think this is specifically for the connector trail. We want to apply this procedure to the connector trail that we are discussing that connects the two asphalt paths, right? So it would be helpful if I had a map. But
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking we should start off with just a general discussion of what our preference is. And then you can talk about a particular trail. But I think is the board thinks about if they had their way, what would do they want stone? Do they want mulch? Do they want gravel? Maybe just have a general discussion of that. And then we want to get specific, maybe we could go specific. But
Sure.
I would prefer if the board members every board member just say, what do they prefer?
Is it fair to say that there's a difference between in the woods and not in the woods?
Well,
I mean, yeah, right. I mean, because I mean, I've been on trails like outside of the woods that are paved that are great, you know. But once you get in the woods, I really don't see many trails, any paved trails. I'll just say that part right now in the woods. Now we can talk about what else could be done inside the woods, right?
Mhm.
Start there.
Well, and I have to add to that, it's the wetlands. And that's, a lot of this has come up because it was put in wet areas, so that wetlands, and
Oh, you just turn your mic off.
I'm sorry, I started to do a lot of research on that, and there's question about putting millings in wetlands. So I haven't
Right.
found that there's a real answer to it yet, but that's my,
Yeah, so, and I think what we're talking, right, and so when we talk about surfacing, I guess I'm next, right? So it's going to be case by case, right? So every trail is in a different situation, whether it's outside the woods next to a
Well, and
roadway.
there may be spots in
Right.
one trail that need something different than other
Right.
parts of the trail.
And so, from, when we talk about preferences, my preference is particularly, and I'm going to go in the woods here again. We're going to talk about in the woods because in my back of my head, I'm thinking about that connector trail.
Right.
Is I like natural surfaces. So I think about stone when I think about that kind of a surface, right? So, and so for that particular project, I think stone is the right approach. But there probably is going to need some engineering work to get it done right. So that's again a separate
procedure.
That's more of procedure. So when we talk about, so I think my preference here would be we avoid things like millings, primarily just because it's not as aesthetic. We have natural alternatives where we can make a nicer, more aesthetic type of trail. That being said, you're giving up a free resource, right? So that's the one thing that we should consider is that I don't want to ban that substance because it's a free resource. So there are opportunities where it might be right. Say it's maybe outside the woods, or it's high enough where it's not, you're not leaching into the road. So I think, again, my preference is, I don't know if stone is considered any stone or whatever other natural surface.
Wood chips.
Wood chips, yeah, wood chips. Like,
Yeah, I'm more of a wood chip stone person, but I know you have to, it all depends on, I don't know how long wood chips hang around, so I think it's gonna depend. But I'd rather go to a wood, even if I have to pay for it, even if we have to pay for it, I think it just works better, wood chips or stone. But that's, I don't know, ladies, what do you think?
Yeah, totally agree. I don't know the lifespan of wood chip pile, but it would have to be replenished. But the stone has to be the right size. It has to have not a lot of
yeah.
grit with it, and it will go into the ground, and it will have to be refurbished as well, so.
One of the things that I think about, and this is where we have to have that engineering idea, is, because I'm not an engineer, is the road that we were talking about that needed additional stone that leads to the northern bridge. Right. That's a pretty robust trail. It's and that's, in my mind, that's what I envision for this connector trail. And the reason for that is that the people who walk the whole trail, the whole paved trail, are they want to continue on that kind of path. They don't want to, I think we were kind of calling it the walking trail or white shoe trail, where you go through and you're not stepping into mud or dirt, which is most all of the trails in Crossland Park are natural trails, natural surface trails, which are either, covered in leaves or dirt or that kind of thing. So really, again, when we're talking about the connector trail, we're talking about a few hundred yards of trail, right? So we're not talking about a major project. But that's in my mind, that's what that trail looks like. It's that kind of gravel path.
But Jim, are you, I don't remember, are you against stone, or is it, you
No.
prefer the wood, you could live with stone?
So I don't know, again, I'm probably not the expert at this, but I'll take Goddard Park. It's got paved walkways. As soon as you get into the woods, it's dirt, and it's it's dirt, and they shovel some like debris and stuff on the path, but that's in the woods, and there is no paved or stones in there. But I'm not against it. This, you said before, this is a case by case basis.
Right.
In this case, there's parts of that trail, that connector trail, that needs to be shored up somehow. It needs some sturdy underlay. So that's the other thing we didn't talk about. Like, if is like some marshy or muddy spot, do we put some kind of fiber down or some kind of thing that makes it rigid? So then you put stone on top, and then it doesn't sink in all the way.
Yeah.
So that's why we need the engineer to help us through this. We gotta, again, I know we don't add trails every week or anything like that. So this is the one trail that we want to get answered.
And we want to get it right.
We're gonna get it right.
Yeah. So, okay.
So.
So you okay with?
No, I do, because it's the wet areas that we were most concerned.
Yeah.
It's the wet areas that we were most concerned about, and you want to put the right stuff in there.
Right.
So that you're not hurting the environment, but you're making it really substantial for people to walk on. So, right, we just want to know what we're doing.
You don't want to create a safety issue too.
Right.
If you're not doing it right.
So I think what I'm hearing, and we're not making a resolution here. We're not creating a policy. We're just having this discussion about preference to kind of provide our staff with some guidance here. Is that when we encounter a trail maintenance issue where we have to harden a surface, right? We want to get Jeff and maybe Ron involved, and someone who's knowledgeable about this, Paul or Matt Thompson, maybe, to sit down and say, okay, what's the best way to deal with this? And then come to the board. If it's a big major project, like, hey, we're going to need culvert piping and, whatever, stormwater remediation, then you got to come to the board and say, look, we really need, versus, hey, all we need is a couple 100 pounds of
So
stone.
I don't know. I think I want you to come to the, I know I'm more anal about stuff at this, but I think I'd want you to come to the board and tell us. No, because no trail has to be done tomorrow.
agree.
Unless it's falling apart, unless like the bridges fell apart.
Unless I misunderstood Dave, my thing is, we're to look at an area, come up with a plan.
And then come to us.
Come
and
to
say,
the board.
No, that's not every, like, that's
No.
not brushing leaves aside.
No,
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no, I get
Yeah.
the scope of what you're,
All right.
I
perfect.
get the scope of what you mean.
All right, good. Are we good?
But I think we're definitely hearing, I'm hearing preference for stone. I don't know what a stone is either. Is it a stone?
It's like little.
Small.
That's what
Now,
we have.
So then again, that is also case by case.
Right,
Yes, it
okay,
is.
right,
It's
but you
case
guys
by
will
case.
come with that recommendation, because you really would like the stone, the water to come through the stone, right?
Right.
Yes.
Correct, and Dave is right, it's gonna be on a case-by-case basis. Some areas, they use a 3/8 inch chip stone with no dust, no fines. Nothing.
Fines, right, fines are bad.
No,
That clogs it up, right?
And the other thing is, if we decide to go on the mulch trail side, there are people, once you get the word out, you know, we could
Get
get
free
more
mulch.
mulch than we could ever deal with.
All
If
right.
we wanted.
You're
that.
using mulch synonymous with wood chips?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Sorry, yes, sir.
All right. So the process, I guess we just answered both questions,
Yeah.
how we want to move forward. Okay. So with the connector trail, the next steps, and I think we've already talked about this, right? You're going to talk about this with Ron, walk that and come up with a plan and present it to the board about what we might potentially want to do with there. Okay. All right.
That's good.
So are we good?
Just one other comment. So I know, and I don't know if this is always possible, I'm sure this is what you would do, but if we're dealing with wetlands and there's a way around the wetland, that would be part of your engineering, right? So there may.
You don't go through wet.
Yeah.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason for having Ron there. So we can either come up with a realistic solution to get the water away from the area,
Right.
or if we can't,
Right.
you move the trail. Some, you know.
Gotcha.
Or,
Yeah.
yeah, or you don't do it, or you don't do it.
Or you don't do it, but
Right.
Ron's got enough common sense. I've got faith in him.
Perfect.
We're going on a bear.
Going on a bear.
This is not, and I think this is where I would have made the mistake. It's not about just throwing more rocks on it. There may be ditching to do or I don't know,
Correct.
stuff, okay? And that's where the engineering comes in.
Correct.
Got it, okay.
All right, good.
Ready?
So I think we're ready for your solicitor's report.
Okay, I'd like,
Well, Dave, before you guys move off it, you didn't get a resolution on what to do where the millings are now. Can we add more millings, or do you want to top it with?
We're going to
stone?
talk about that offline.
Okay, very good.
Thanks.
okay, I'd like to introduce Guy Donatelli to give our solicitor's report.
Good evening. There are two matters on the solicitor's report. Lexington Point, I will tell you that there has not been much progress from our last report. The key tasks that were identified in the July 2023 memo remain key tasks. I understand that the schedule has been reinforced with the property owner, but there's nothing that I can report of any substance other than that. So unless I think they have to get their act together. There was some repairs that needed to be made because there was some destruction to some underground infrastructure, but nothing since the last report. And
Just one comment, guys, but we did get the sheets that laid out the steps, so I thought that was really helpful from Stan.
Yes,
So all the board members have gotten that.
that's
So
gonna be helpful.
So we can follow this as they go through what they accomplish. We have a checklist.
Not too bad.
and with respect to the Frays Gill subdivision, you're being asked to execute a resolution to permit to DEP to modify your sewage facilities plans. This is a standard form. I think the only issue with this particular application was the last time it came in, it was missing exhibit B or something like that.
Correct.
And that's been remedied. So it's ready to go in my view.
All right, so I'll read a motion here. I make a motion to approve resolution 2024-05, a plan revision for new land development, as it was reviewed and recommended by Stan Corbett of ACOM and is later dated February 19th, 2024. May I have a second? Thank you, Jim. So any further discussion or questions on this? Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. All right, motion carries 5-0. All right, so I guess that brings us to the second public comment section. Public comments. This public comment may include any comments attendees may want to share. Commenters must state their name and whether they are a township resident or a taxpayer of the township. Do we have any additional public comments?
Yeah, this is John Auerbach. I'm a Franklin Township resident of 46 years. I have comments about the road program and then the trail resurfacing. So the road condition improvement occurred over 11 years from 2012 to 2023. And I'm pleased that the board recognizes the importance of infrastructure maintenance, a core township function. What's important to understand is it took a long time to make the improvement that we now enjoy. And the key learning is it takes a long time to make an improvement. And we need to remain vigilant not to allow maintenance to slip. Recovery will take a long time. A short miscue in maintenance can take a much longer time to recover, and the recovery process is obviously slow. Going on to the trail resurfacing, my comment is first comment, an overall statement directed to the board and not any specific supervisor. Franklin Township should fully understand their own ordinances, apply them to all applicable projects. Based on my experience with local government, I can certainly understand that the board may not be familiar with every nuance of each ordinance. Professional resources in engineering and law are readily available to assist in application. Next, comments related to stormwater and these trails. Is Act 167 set forth requirements for stormwater management for projects that create earth disturbance and new impervious surfaces? This legislation was adopted by Chester County year 2013 to 14 and has been amended recently, making compliance a bit more stringent. Legislation is comprehensive and sets forth some very strong restrictive requirements. I do not believe you can get an exemption based on the fact that some individual project claims that their work will not have an impact. I recommend that Franklin Township engage their attorney for any interpretation or exemption sought in the case of earth disturbance and impervious surface recently created in wetlands in Crescent Park. My fundamental question to this project is, why would you propose a trail through wetlands and not consider an alternate route, or just abandon the project for a more suitable location? If you go forward, a possible remedy, if it's determined that you want to pursue it, an engineering study should be engaged with a qualified Pennsylvania professional engineer with a PE license. I believe the trail at this location will require removal in the millings, excavation of a top layer of soft soil, apply a geotextile fabric, a significant thickness of base material of number 2 or 3 rock, and a top layer of 2A modified rock or millings, all professionally installed. Without the geotextile fabric, the current layer of millings will soon disappear into the deep, soft, wet soil. Continued application of millings will also disappear. This thing is really a bottomless pit unless you put some geotextile fabric down first. End of my comments.
Thanks, John. That was good.
Thank you, John. Do we have any other public comment? All right, not hearing any, I make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting at 8:45 PM. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you, Jim. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Good night, everybody.